This is Amber Heard 2.0. Blake Lively's new legal strategy, intentionally linking herself to Amber Heard, is a huge risk, and she could be effectively cutting off her nose to spit her face.
You know, for me, I always feel like I'm faking it, which is like probably something I shouldn't say out loud. These are the inner thoughts.
I did do and say horrible, regrettable things throughout my relationship. I behaved in horrible, almost unrecognizable to myself ways. I have so much regret.
That's the safety in that, is I never play characters that are like.
Blake Lively and Amber Heard perfected the art of disguising their true identities through high-profile marriages and fake lawsuits to get past the men who stood in their way. But still, their greed for money and attention exposed their reality. Blake Lively's rise to global fame was tied to her marriage to Ryan Reynolds, and Amber Heard's rise followed a very similar path. She became famous when she married Johnny Depp, one of the biggest and most beloved movie stars in the entire world. In the early days of their relationship, she played the role of the ideal supportive partner. During their trips to private islands and luxury homes in Australia, she acted like a caring muse standing beside her talented husband. Everyone looked at them and thought this is what love looked like in real life. Music, however, just like Blake Lively, Amber Heard's public image was a mask designed to elevate her own status. Both women used their marriages not as equal partnerships, but as stepping stones. They connected with men who had global reach to build their own careers. I mean, we all know how Blake's social media posts were created by her social media managers and PR teams as a desperate need for constant attention.
And so I have what they call in this world, the unfair advantage of having what is an existing.
Many observers believe both these women sought to use their status to ruin the men they worked with. In 2018, Amber Heard wrote an article for the Washington Post saying she was a public figure who addressed domestic abuse. She did not say Johnny Depp's name in the article, but everyone in the world knew precisely who she was talking about. The article landed like a bomb, and Johnny lost his well-known role as Captain Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And by the way, while Johnny Depp was making his first appearance in Pirates of the Caribbean as Jack Sparrow, Amber Heard was getting arrested for reckless driving. So, that's just a minor fact, and small because Depp was also fired and replaced in the Fantastic Beasts movie spin-off, which cost him tens of millions of dollars in lost movie roles and canceled contracts. His reputation was destroyed because people trusted Amber Heard without even seeing the facts. I guess Blake watched her friend and learned a lot of misguided lessons from it. She was the one who filed a lawsuit against Justin Baldoni. The evidence suggests she tried to use her Hollywood status and money so she could take complete control of his movie, but her plan backfired so badly that she ended up becoming the most trolled woman on the internet.
Is already so damaged that I will be surprised if she ever gets a job again outside of Ryan Reynolds' little universe.
It wasn't only the legal drama that caused these two to lose their fans' trust. It was also how they behaved while all of this was unfolding. Blake promoted It Ends With Us movie like it was a fun summer party comedy. I can't even tell y'all how tone-deaf this really was. Instead of discussing the message of the film and how it could help victims, she used the entire press tour to promote her own personal products. I mean, connecting a fun alcohol brand to a movie about domestic was a major red flag. But still, her team mixed fun publicity with actual crisis management, and it made her look extremely greedy. Music. When a journalist asked her a serious question about how real victims could approach her to discuss the movie's themes, she gave a response that went viral for all the wrong reasons.
One understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you. What's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Like asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share?
It seemed like Blake did not care about victims at all. She only cared about her image and making money. Similarly, Amber Heard's interviews were equally troubling in their own way. She presented herself as this courageous survivor standing up to power and played the victim card again and again in every single interview. But then the audio recordings came out. The evidence revealed a completely different picture, and we all started noticing the cracks in her story.
And I watched you lie, and then
I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't.
Every time she went on television to cry about how she was treated, more evidence would drop that contradicted everything she was saying. For Amber, a 6-week trial captivated the entire world. At the end of that trial, the jury delivered their verdict and found that Amber lied and defamed Johnny Depp. They awarded him more than $10 million in damages. Amber won exactly one small point because of something Johnny's lawyer said to the press, and she was given $2 million, but everyone in the world knew this was a complete defeat for her. The jury decided that she had created an unnecessary plan to make herself look like a victim. That was the official verdict from a group of ordinary citizens who looked at all the evidence and said, "This is not adding up." For Blake Lively, her recent defeat was more humiliating because she destroyed her own case without even making it to a trial. A judge completely dismissed 10 out of her 13 claims because she had filed them in the wrong court, and now she has already settled the remaining minor claims out of court for $0. When Blake tried to get a gag order to silence Justin and keep him from speaking his music, Truth, the judge even denied that, too. Her attempt to ruin his life failed completely in the eyes of the law, and her reputation took a massive hit. But the absolute crown jewel of stupidity was the bragging letter. Blake wrote a letter to a professional guild begging for a producer title on the movie. In that letter, she bragged about how she controlled every single tiny detail of the movie. She said she personally hired the crew, fired people she did not like, rewrote the entire script, moved the filming location, and completely dominated the whole project. This letter was supposed to help her get credit and money, but when it came time for a judge to look at her demands, the judge read that exact letter and understood Blake was not a victim.
I think that at the end of the day, Judge Lyman just stripped the case down. He threw out the most explosive claims, and that is a major win for Baldone.
Blake and Amber followed the exact same strategy. I mean, they were the troublemakers, but they used their PR teams to make themselves appear like the victims as they denied doing anything wrong. Blake Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloan, was asked to share negative articles to help out Blake. She casually made false statements about Justin just because she felt like it was part of her job. And guess what? She did not even seem embarrassed about it, as she treated damaging people's reputations like it was just another day at the office. Blake and Ryan used Leslie Sloan to put out fake stories in the New York Times to make Justin Baldoni appear like a bad person. They accused Justin of running a smear campaign, but they were the ones actually attacking him the entire time.
This up is seemingly all just almost like Blake PR, just spread some sort of a soundbite that everybody ran with.
When Blake started losing in court and the news cycle turned completely against her, Ryan stepped in to protect his own image instead of defending his wife. He did not even attend her court hearings. To change the Google search results and conceal the bad news, they used their own children as props. When Blake was losing in court, news outlets started posting extremely rare photos of Ryan walking around with his child on his shoulders. I mean, it was an obvious tactic to hide the real news by dangling their kids in front of the cameras. But what I understand is that they did this stunt last year as they went on a paparazzi walk with a stroller that appeared empty just one day before they filed court papers to hide text messages from Taylor Swift.
Why would she now, this weekend, be sharing rare, extremely rare photos of her kids so that y'all aren't talking about how they just lost on the weekend? Your kids aren't props to be used and dangled so that you can get some good headlines.
Well, this is what desperation looks like when your entire case is falling apart and you have no real evidence left. Also, when you are on top, everyone wants to be your friend. But the second the truth comes out, those friends vanish faster than you can say brand deal. When Amber lost her trial, music, Hollywood stars did not rush to protect her. In fact, many of them celebrated that she lost. Ashley Benson, who worked with Amber on a movie called Her Smell in 2018, posted a picture of Johnny Depp on Instagram after the verdict and wrote yes with 6 black heart emojis. The fact that a woman who actually worked with Amber cheered for her downfall tells you everything you need to know about what she was like behind the scenes. Similarly, Valerie Bertinelli laughed at the people still defending Amber and asked, "I'm confused because we saw her caught in multiple lies on the stand. Honest question, what am I missing?" Megyn Kelly also destroyed Amber's statement after the trial.
Did lie to this jury over and over and over, in my view. She's the one who started this PR war and has no grounds to complain simply because she lost it. Her problem was not that she wasn't taken seriously, it's that her lies made her not.
For Blake Music, it was the same situation as Brandon Sklenar, who was her co-star, posted a major statement on Instagram defending the women of the cast and telling people to read Blake's complaints to support her. But as the truth emerged, Brandon quietly deleted that post. He even removed every trace of the movie from his Instagram to hide his involvement. On the other hand, Jenny Slate gave interviews saying she loved working with Blake, and also she was the one who sent text messages to Blake calling the shoot troubling to fuel her ego. But when the court documents came out, people saw that Jenny was simply an enabler. When asked about the whole situation, Jenny refused to speak about it as she looked like a complete hypocrite who could not support any of her claims.
I just kind of I don't know, it's weird how a person can get to a breaking point, but where you're just like, I don't want to deal with assholes anymore, and that includes me.
Once the truth started emerging, both women lost nearly everything. Their money, their brands, their friends, their careers. All of it seemed to evaporate like it had never existed. For Amber, her financial situation became devastating after the trial. She had already spent at least $6 million on lawyers defending the case. Her lawyer went on television and said she literally could not afford to pay the damages she owed to Johnny Depp. Then her own insurance company turned against her. New York Marine and General Insurance Company filed a lawsuit saying they did not want to pay $1 million on her liability policy. The company pointed out that the jury found Amber acted intentionally and their policy does not cover acts committed with this type of intent, which is what they argued she had done. So not only did she owe Johnny Depp, but her own insurance was refusing to cover her. Blake Lively also walked away from her settlement with exactly $0. She had claimed she lost hundreds of millions throughout this lawsuit, but the judge, in a final painful blow to her case, refused to award attorney fees to her. That is what happens when you file a lawsuit without enough evidence and waste everyone's time. Amber also had a major brand deal with L'Oreal that completely fell apart. After audio tapes of her admitting to hitting Johnny came out, the brand suffered a huge loss. People went to stores and refused to buy L'Oreal products because her face was on the displays. Music, that was basically the end of her beauty career. And that's not everything, as her Aquaman role was also on the line. She had to fight hard to keep her only big role in the DC movies as she claimed that Johnny's team ran a campaign that made the studio want to fire her. But notes from her own therapist were leaked to the public, and they told a much uglier story. According to those notes, her co-star Jason Momoa wanted her fired from the movie. The notes said Jason would show up to the set drunk and late, and to make things worse, he would dress exactly like Johnny Depp, wearing his rings and bohemian clothes just to taunt her. The director James Wan also treated her the same way because of the drama she brought to a set. Her role was cut down to almost nothing. In a movie that cost $215 million, she ended up being on screen for just 10 minutes. The only reason she was not fired was because her ex-boyfriend Elon Musk stepped in. His lawyers sent a threatening letter to Warner Brothers saying they would burn the house down if they fired her. So, the studio was forced to keep her, but they still erased her role completely. And her public image suffered along the way.
I was expressing frustration about his criticism of my career and how many problems that caused within the dynamic of our relationship, yes.
So you call him a sellout and a joke?
I called him horrible, ugly things, as you.
When people turn against you, they dig up everything. Music. Every mistake, every comment, every skeleton in your closet comes bursting out into the light. And both of these women had some serious skeletons waiting to be music discovered. I mean, we all have seen this interview of Blake Lively, where the reporter politely says, "Congratulations on your little bump." And she snaps back saying, "Congratulations on your bump." But the truth was that the interviewer was not pregnant. In fact, she could not have babies due to some medical condition.
On your little bump?
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
For the rest of the interview, Blake appeared aggressive and refused to even look the journalist in the eye. She complained about being asked about the clothes she wore in the movie, saying nobody asks men about their clothes, acting like a fake feminist. It was an awful display of rudeness. But the absolute worst skeleton to come out of the closet was Blake and Ryan's wedding. In 2012, they got married at Boone Hall Plantation and Gardens in South Carolina. This was an actual labor plantation where people suffered a lot, and the location literally has preserved cabins and cotton fields right where they took their romantic wedding pictures. They did not face backlash immediately because social media was not what it is today. But in 2018, Ryan tweeted about Black Panther, and people pointed out the extreme hypocrisy, as he was the one who stood on the dust of those labors to get married. During the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020, they finally had to apologize to save their face. Ryan called it a giant mistake and said they were just looking at Pinterest and did not realize the dark history of the venue. They felt so much shame that they had to get married a second time secretly at their home in New York. However, Blake's arrogance appeared again during her lawsuit. In her deposition, she admitted it was her mistake. But then in the legal documents filed by her own lawyers to the court, they tried to gaslight everyone. Her lawyers wrote that she allegedly got married on a plantation. Music. People were absolutely furious. Google literally lists the venue as a plantation, and Blake herself had already apologized for it on the record. Calling it an alleged plantation showed the world that she had no real remorse. She only donated money and made speeches to buy her way out of trouble. For her team to say, allegedly got married on a plantation, is ignoring the voices who called her out for years. And then there were these text messages which showed the world that Blake and her famous friends were acting like high school girls, openly mocking a man for discussing his real struggles. Blake and Amber believed they could use the court systems to rubber stamp their lives. They thought they could use the power of laws designed to protect real victims as a weapon to go against the men they simply did not like. Instead, the process removed their masks and showed the entire world exactly who they really were. Amber Heard truly believed she could win in a courtroom the exact same way she won on the internet, by crying, looking pretty, and playing the victim card. Blake lively believed her fame and her husband's influence would protect her from any serious consequences. But they both were completely wrong. Hollywood gives stars endless chances if they are kind, honest, and easy to work with. The industry will forgive mistakes. They will forgive bad movies and flops. They will even forgive some controversial moments if the person seems genuine. But fans have zero patience for actors who lie, scheme, and pretend to be victims while actively hurting other people. That is the one thing you cannot come back from. Both women had the looks, the roles, and the money to last a lifetime. They had everything they needed to build successful careers based on genuine talent and authentic personalities. But by choosing arrogance over honesty and professionalism, they damaged their reputations and their Hollywood careers forever. Amber thought she could use a global social movement to destroy Johnny Depp at her own game. Instead, she was exposed as dishonest in a court of law. Blake watched Amber fall and still did the exact same thing, thinking it would be different for her. She thought she could turn the public against Justin Baldoni with false claims and dirty PR tactics. But the courts threw out her case. Her co-stars deleted their support for her, and her old interviews and plantation wedding resurfaced to prove she was always the same girl like Amber Heard. What do you guys think about the similarities between Amber and Blake? Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more videos.